just go friend because it goes over to
Yeah.
Okay, we might
There's a possibility.
get underway. Tonight we've got a bit of a focus on foundation licensees, and we've had a little bit of input from some foundation licensees who couldn't be here tonight. And out of that I've drawn a few sort of broad themes that I thought could be the basis of a bit of discussion. So, but by all means it's not the end of the discussion. Any other topics we'll certainly explore along the way. So broad themes that came out of the things that were submitted, and I'm happy to share the emails that we received because they've all been made anonymous. But the broad themes that came out of it, those emails, were some help around upgrading. So, okay, I've got my foundation license. Where to now? And what else is out there? That sort of led into a bit of a theme around mentoring and Elmering. So who do I go and talk to about antennas, moonbelts, etc., etc. So a bit around mentoring. There was also a little bit around improving the image of amateur radio, and I've actually separated that out as a bit of a theme that I wouldn't mind some discussion around, because there is still a bit of a theme out there and a bit of an image, I suppose, of amateur radio, you know, being the old grey guy in the cellar talking on the radio. It's that sort of thing.
It's
So
raining here in Tokyo.
well, and then there's the other view, which is Sonny Hancock's, which is very funny. But there's a little, there's still a persistent sort of image out there. So yeah, a little bit of a theme around that. Certainly some input around how we could improve membership and also that engagement process. Bit around regular group sessions, so giving new foundation licensees some practice, so operational practice, and getting used to sort of, you know, how it all works and all of that sort of thing, terminology, etc. And then also that sort of ongoing, and this is a little bit around sort of membership and engagement, there's a little bit around ongoing sort of active inclusion. So they were the sort of broad themes that came out of what was submitted.
Can you just explain what ongoing active inclusion translates as?
Okay, it was around actively including new licensees in activities.
Okay.
And actually, you know, getting them involved. And a good example is probably, sorry, Paul, I'm going to call you out here. Active inclusion in the Remembrance Day contest a couple of years ago. Really focused on helping Paul out there. Paul got involved and in fact ended up as top foundation licensee, I think, in the RD contest.
Yeah.
So it's just actively getting them involved. Does that sort of...
Yep.
Yeah. So...
Coercing them through peer pressure.
Well, might be.
Bit of harassment.
Coercion is such a harsh term.
I'm smiling under it.
Gentle persuasion.
No bashtai.
So what I've done is sort of separated out into those broad themes, and if there isn't any input around certain things, we'll just move on. It's just more to give a little bit of structure to the discussion. So how do I upgrade? And I'll probably throw to some of the foundation licensees in the room. Is this an issue? Is probably my first question. Do you know how to upgrade?
Oh, I do. I mean, I've researched a fair bit online. I guess the hinge pin in that would be the club, would be Reast. You know, you research your resources and study guides, and then you know that you would contact the club to get an exam. Now, with the change that of the Maritime College, that all got a bit confusing around there for a while, whether or not they were going to be offering online stuff, or whether you go through here or there, and I've kind of lost track of it. So, but I guess in general, you know to ask your club members if you had any questions. But if you were out there alone and not in contact with Reast
Yep.
and members here, you might be a bit more isolated in that respect.
Okay. Harry?
Well, I actually agree with Paul 100%, on the basis that there are some people that are kind of like, there's a few people that are kind of that are really keen to get into radio or electronics, but they may not know where to go. And the thing I find is if there's a lot more information out there about where can you go as a possible new operator, you want to go and get your license, or anything related to that, where can you go? So having that kind of information, and also people out there to give that information as well, would be really handy. And it would make the person feel more comfortable knowing that, yes, there's someone I can talk to, there's information that I'm actually getting from an experienced or a new operator themselves, which would be very good.
What can I ask? What sort of form of information would be most helpful?
So the type of information would be like your local amateur radio club. So Reast here in Hobart. So, and what sort of things you'll need to study or look up to know on exam day as well.
Okay.
Because I've noticed when I first was reading up on studying myself, I wasn't sure at first before I even got the book. I wasn't even sure where to go, and I found there wasn't whether if anyone else has had this and they haven't looked maybe in the right place, I don't know. But I find that if we try and, I suppose I'm probably not using the right words, but try and I just try and put more, I suppose more of a guide where to go to get that information. So what you need to do.
One of the suggestions that was made was study groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I find that momentum, you lose momentum, you get keen, you get the stuff, you get it. I don't know how many times I've paid for,
The Radio and Electronics Association?
Yes.
Radio and Electronics School?
Yeah.
Sorry.
To have it, and I was given a good tip on that, to have it run out. Okay. And then I bought, and little suggestions too, like I bought the electronic version of the Foundation to Advanced book.
Okay.
And then I decided it really is a lot, I was being cheap, it really is a lot better having a hard copy. So I went and bought a hard copy.
Yep.
So I've got that as well. But study groups, to keep that momentum going. I've been dipping in and out of studying for this for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And the reason it's faltered is because it requires a definite, dedication and time set aside for it. And if you're an individual who's got a job, and you work all day long, you got family commitments or things you have to do or whatever, it goes along at a snail's pace.
Yeah.
So it's just like going to the gym. If you have somebody that you go with more often.
Did you find the website to be useful? The Reast website?
Well, there is a bit of a. I found the hobby out of the blue, and it wasn't until it was a radio I bought, and I didn't realise you needed. I didn't even know about amateur radio at the time, and then someone had mentioned on social media, "Hey, look, that's actually part of amateur radio," and he'd give me information about what you can do in the hobby, and not much, but he'd given me a basic idea of what you can do in the hobby, and some of the activities that they can do, like operating the HF radios. And you can also do a bit of 10 gigahertz, I think it is, as well. So it kind of got me interested in the sense that I reckon it's a really good spot I would like to get into. But yeah, I think it was just more the searching that was kind of interesting.
I think specifically to the Reast website, resources are there, but I think they need to have bigger flashing signs. If you know what I mean.
They're hard to find.
The information's there. You have to dig a little bit.
Yep.
They're obscured, a couple of pages down, things like that. I mean, if you're trying to increase membership, first thing on the page should be, new members start here.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but and I think there's something there saying, definitely there saying, if you're interested, come and do this and join us, and this is when we meet and things like that.
Seeing there's
Or
a lot of...
maybe a link on the main page saying your pathway into amateur radio.
Yeah.
Make it
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I think the buddy system sounds like a good idea. Yeah, is there someone else that you can team with, so that you can work with each other?
And also link to a mentor.
Yeah, but if there was, say, once a month, you had a meeting here that was for people trying to study, then you come along and know that there'd be an opportunity to meet with fellow students.
I agree.
Maybe you could actually have a page, like a swim lane chart or something along those lines. You start at the bottom and you know nothing and you go, oh, I've come up here, I can follow this path. Or if you've already done your foundation, you come back 5 years down the track and you go, oh, well, how do I upgrade? It's not so much, I don't think, about the upgrading path and just sensing what people are saying here. It's, we don't have a clear roadmap or a clear path where people can just come in and say, at this angle into it, oh, that's what I've got to do, or who I've got to see, speak to, and etc. So maybe we just develop a clear sort of structure first, and all this stuff can hang off it.
Good navigation. Rick?
Yeah, while I would like to help, the reality is I haven't been through the foundation license or the standard license. I got my license when you did essay style descriptions about a neutralizer triode, and almost nothing that I learnt going through that is probably relevant today.
But your electronics experience,
No,
Don't disagree with that.
relevant for the purpose of passing the license.
okay, I'll say, then I'll change it. Your electronics experience because that's, you know, that's definitely part of it. You know, I love, if I'm having, you don't have to know the course, but you could definitely be an Elmer in part of that. You know, okay, you look at the question, you've got the experience up there. So if somebody's saying, oh, what's a series parallel circuit, or what does this circuit diagram mean, or what are the stages?
How do I tune this antenna?
How do I tune this antenna? What are the stages of a superhead? Whatever.
Yeah, if someone can ask a question, I can answer it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'm having
I can't-
difficulty in this
I
part of
can't
the book.
lay out the process.
No, that's, you know, but,
Well, that's right. Rex and a lot of other guys didn't go through the
Yeah.
steps, didn't start at foundation and then try to get to standard, then try and get to advanced. We started at advanced, you know, so we don't know what you guys as foundations are looking at.
Yeah.
Don't know at all.
That's right.
Yeah, so that would mean having the foundation manual or a textbook that the student themselves has, that you can then take to your Elmer to say, I've got stuck on this bit. And so you yourself would have
I think existing foundation members should tutor prospective foundation members.
I think that's right.
You know,
I agree with that.
you know, not only because when I was in university, what little of it I did, I had a really good instructor, and what he did for me is he turned around and he said, I think you should tutor other students. And it was in discrete electronic theory. And gee,
No.
did I gain confidence, did I gain knowledge by doing that?
If you can teach a subject, you have to know the subject. So if you tutor a subject, you have to know that subject.
So yes, that's definitely one part of it. We still, you know, the foundation members still,
The only problem with us experienced guys with
yeah.
engineering qualifications is that with those multiple choice questions,
Right.
I should look at them and going, oh, I'm not sure, because if you follow the theorem on this basis, then you'll get to that answer. But if you follow this different,
This is the problem of knowing too much.
exactly,
Yes.
because I only narrow it down to, and
Or just go
I know, I'm
for all of
hopeless
the
at
above.
Can I just echo Paul's, sorry, who said about tutoring others? Paul, I think it was tutoring other foundation or prospective foundations. I teach for a living, so and one of the things that we do is, and we did it today, once you get about 3 or 4 weeks into our course, it's only a 6-month course, the way I teach it's a Cert 4 in networking, and I will identify people in that class who are good at what they do, are good at what they have learned, and I'll say, right, okay, this guy's got a problem. Hey, do you want to come and help him? Because I've seen you fix exactly that problem just now on your PC. And so it's a really, really good way of learning. And the old saying is the best way to learn something is to teach it. The other thing I'll say is that, and I agree totally with what you said, Rex, about you haven't been through the process that Harry and myself and Paul and that book have gone through. But when I first started teaching, I don't hold a Cert 4 in the subject I teach. I hold a diploma from 20 odd years ago, and I hold a buttload of experience since then, 25 years of experience in the IT industry. And so it's more a case of if someone can come to you and go, as someone who's been there and done it, can go, hey, I have this stuff I need to learn. Can you help me with this aspect or this aspect or this aspect? That I think is more important than being able to go, oh well, when I did the exam it was this. It's all down to there's an old cliche which is the best ability is availability, and if you're available for someone to come along and go, hey, can you help me with this subject? That's a real plus, I think, for anyone who's trying to learn.
And also, everyone's an Elmer.
Yeah.
Everyone can be an Elmer. So it doesn't have to be, any of these, highly experienced and people who've been around in the game for a long time. But it can be anybody in our club that, you know, that has been here. So if there's areas you can chip in, you know, once someone decides that they want to do moon bounce and they have the privileges to do so, Rex is your man and Tricky is your man. And then there's other stratification of that throughout the club.
But can I throw in here? But
Sure.
How do you know who?
Well, there you go.
Which is
who
can
do I
mentor
talk
me?
to?
Who
Yeah.
do I talk to?
I mean, you could certainly create a register of topics alongside of individuals, or maybe we have one meeting a night, or one meeting a month, or one meeting a quarter, where people put their names up on the board that they are maybe available for, you know, general questions for those I don't know. I'm just spitballing, you know. But not everybody is going to be here that is going to be in the.
Can I just
Sure.
disperse here? I think, first of all, we've got two issues, and we keep meshing them together, and they need to be separated. One of them is, how do you get people interested in amateur ready to do a foundation license? That's one thing. And that's not what this is about, so I'm going to put that to one side. How do I upgrade is about having a process by which you can access help with whatever is required to upgrade. And I think the suggestion that perhaps there might be a meeting every month or something, which is just about studying. And you can have Elmers of whatever sort come in to assist with that, but the problem then gets to be, if the person sitting there is not the one that's got the answer to the problem you've got, I don't know how you match that all together. But you've got to have a process to do it. And I don't think we've talked much about the process. I think the process is what this is about.
Okay. So from a process point of view, I'll start off. If we had something once a month, now bear in mind we do an assessment every 2 months. At this point in time, doesn't mean it needs to, that's set in concrete, certainly not set in concrete, that's just what we currently do. Like we would have something every month where they would come along. Do you think that would improve things? Would it?
We're forgetting that we already have a bunch of knowledgeable people in this room every Wednesday night.
That's right.
Every Wednesday night.
I think too, Justin, that as people get their licence and they become members, if we can get them to come of a Wednesday night and to other events and things, but especially the Wednesday night, and if we can maybe make an extended effort to be more welcoming and sort of maybe not quite as come across as technical snobs maybe that what we might do, then I think new people would sort of get to know all of the people that come up here, and the incredible wealth of expertise in our club, that if this particular new person has an interest in, you know, contesting or building things or EME or whatever, then the natural thing is, oh, geez, you need to talk to, you know, Art or blah, blah, blah. And I think that if we can get people to come along to the meetings and put faces to names and call signs, then a lot of the people in this room you don't often hear on the air, on the repeaters, because they're busily off doing the things that they're sort of renowned to be good at, you know. So I think if we can connect the new people and say, you know, you need to see this guy or whatever, and then, you know, introduce them and get them to maybe sort of, you know, people tend to gravitate to groups based on sort of lots of things, you know, but interests. Oh yeah, he's an HF guy. I'm really keen. I'll go and sit and talk with him, you know. And I think people will just gravitate to people in that interest area that they like.
I'm just a little bit interested in getting some feedback from the foundation licensees, because little bit of the feedback that we got in the emails was some of the foundation licensees find the Wednesday night group a little bit daunting because there are little groups that are into a subject really deeply and they come in and go, oh God, blimey. they're
I
in
think
real-
you get that with every club. Like if you're restoring motorbikes, you'd come away after talking to 3 guys in the group and go, holy crap.
But is there some sort of intermediate level where there are some people on a Wednesday night who are, you know, they focus on the foundation licensees? Would that work? You know, so they're the linkers, what I call the linkers in a Myers-Briggs way. But they're the ones that sort of connect the dots and help a foundation licensee find where they need to, you know, who they need to talk to and what they need to do. I just would that help? Because there is some specific feedback around. They come along to the Wednesday night group and ooh, you know, this group's into this group's into this, and this group's into this, and I'm trying to sort of find my place here. So yeah.
Well, it's intimidating.
Oh,
And you don't know what you want to do yet, whether it's EME or code or CW.
Yep.
What do you find in terms of the assessments? What do you find is the most troublesome subject people don't pass? Or I'm not familiar with the foundation license in general.
Yep.
I've read through the manual, but
well,
I've been licensed for a long time, so
just from a foundation license experience point of view, and actually I should have mentioned this earlier. We've recorded in 10 videos what Reg and I teach on a foundation license course. So they're available on the YouTube channel in our assessment playlist. So that is the stuff that we actually go through, because it's literally we recorded one of those sessions all the way through. So there is an idea, and they're certainly being hit reasonably often. So they're obviously being used, and in fact we've held some assessment sessions where there's only been a couple of people, and we've actually asked them and said, "Oh, are you comfortable to watch the videos, and then we'll do an assessment session with you?" Because all we're going to really be doing is going through those videos.
Yeah.
They actually said, "No, I would like the face-to-face." So you can ask the questions, you can go through it. So I thought that was interesting feedback, because the videos are very one-way.
What I've noticed, Justin, on the Wednesday nights, we'll just say the Wednesday night gatherings, you've always got one, maybe 2 or 3 of the foundation guys here,
Yep.
namely the guys here at the moment.
Yep.
That could probably work to their benefit than the newcomers, because in their new, they can recognise the new guys and say, hey, yeah, look, we're foundation, we've been done.
Yeah.
What do you want to know? They can point to Richard and go, yeah, he's into this, and they can actually guide them to the right people too. So,
All right.
Yeah, the one
What do
thing-
you think about that, guys?
I actually agree with that 100%.
Sure, yeah.
That kind of, I suppose, support. They've got that person to go to that's been in that same, or that's already been in that position, so that they know, or that license, they know where to go, and that's going back to who do I talk to again. So it's just a matter of knowing. Again, going back, it's just a matter of knowing who to talk to and what they would like to know.
I'll give you an example of my experience when I first got my foundation license. I got it, I came here, and it was a long time between there was another foundation member who regularly came to the club. From when I joined up to when Harry and everybody else came on board. there were nights that I came here and I felt so inadequate and out of the ability to engage with the members, not because of their personalities or anything like that, but the conversations that were going on. And you get, and I'm going to be quite honest, you get embarrassed asking questions that sound stupid. I have a bad habit of being very articulate, and then when I come in here, I turn into a mush mouth. I can't remember things. I don't know a PL from an SO, and you get a little bit intimidated by the collective knowledge that is pouring out of every crack in the building, and you end up sometimes just sitting in a corner going, where do I engage, in here? And but now when it comes to I feel like I missed a wave with these guys, like having a group of individuals, and part of that is my problem because now I've become a bit of the furniture, if you know what I mean, and I need to make the move to engage with people more. But that's just a perspective, like I said, from a new foundation member. It was a bit isolating in the beginning because I didn't have anybody coming up with me. You guys are lucky. You came on kind of together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I think would help is if people wore their name badges. So she not having her name badge on.
I think it would help if we had some name badge. Had some name badges. I've been here 3 years.
I just think that
I should go on a team for that, but carry on.
because I actually don't know the names of everybody here.
Now Reast did a thing on name badges some years ago, and it was only a few dollars each.
Yeah.
So we could do that again, sure.
Well, truly.
That's the possibility of splitting the meeting in some sense. I don't know how soundproof the back room is, but is it possible to take a couple of foundation people, and because you've got a desk back there,
Well, truly.
we're going to be wiring it all up and putting some new gear in there.
Or we're going to be doing some operating.
Yeah, that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And you could put a whiteboard in there and go through those. I mean, you could do that twice a month on months that alternate. You don't want to interfere with the.
I think you could do that. You could do that. Look, that's a good idea.
That's a
I
great
think
idea.
you could sort of do that a bit more ad hoc. Like if we've got some UHF gear at the back and say Harry wants to play satellites, it's like, okay, let's pick a night and we'll go out and we'll do it.
Yeah, that's a different level of teaching. But I was thinking about
that was just a particular thing I thought.
No. This is a very good idea.
Whether it's like FTA or.
Because if you told me to play satellites, I'd have to go out and get a book and get online and all that. I'm just talking about that's a great idea. I'm thinking just about the ability to focus on what do I need to do to learn, what do I need to learn to get a license? And so in terms of having the prospective hams in the back there, I don't know if it would interfere much with your studio, but it just seems like
Be fine.
yeah.
Be good. And
I
using that.
I think the discussion focuses on two things. One, what do I need to do to get a license? And the other is, what are the interesting things I might want to do when I get my license?
Yeah.
You're not going to really know that until you get round and talk to different people and say,
And-
oh, wow, he does this and she does that.
Both of those require different sorts of Elmers.
No, well, I'm sure.
Well, the number of times that I've been asked by somebody, oh, you should get on 27. Oh, can't. Oh, but we're doing a 6 meter. Oh, well, you can't. And that's where you guys live. You live in those frequencies.
But that's also the incentive to.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. No.
There's a balance there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
What's the
100%.
upgraded?
So that little bit of oh, I can't participate in that
Yeah.
should be the impetus to
Can I say, Paul, however, this is a club station. You can participate in a supervised way in anything.
True.
Because there would always be an advanced licensee up here to be able to actually operate under. So it's an opportunity to give foundation licensees the experience of what it's like having an upgraded license.
Oh yeah, getting their feet wet and playing a bit of.
Yeah, because tricky satellite thing is very impressive. I mean, that's magical even for me, even, you know,
And
at my advanced age.
that was one of the reasons for the open day, to try and give people a bit of a taster of what's out there. It's and wasn't everything. By all means, it wasn't everything. There's a whole lot more to it. But that was what the objective of the open day was.
Well, maybe you could schedule a foundation or whatever learning thing for the back room there, and Tricky could do satellites or whatever. I mean, actually set up and do it, or FT8 or whatever it is.
Well, I think we need to find out what people are going to be interested in. And look, I think if you get some of the foundation guys together and find out if there's a few of them that are interested in doing, you know, learning about satellites or EME or contesting or you know, CW or whatever, and sort of maybe then you can sort of steer them towards a person that's got expertise in that area. But I think everybody, if they sort of try and help new guys work out where they want to go when they probably don't really know where they want to go.
I think it's why what Rex said is interesting. You could, once a month, you could do a demo of a mode or something in the back, and the foundation, because it's a very big hobby.
Look, you know,
So
something like
there's
FTA.
a myriad of ways to do
It's
it.
the sort of
You know,
thing
soda,
like-
for example.
I saw it for the first time when Ben showed it at the back, you know, a few years ago. I'm like, wow, this is like super cool. You know, and there's probably lots of people that, you know, want to maybe play FTA, but having issues interfacing their radios and getting the computer to go and stuff. So then maybe let's do it at the back, and then you know, one night if you can't make your radio go, Larry, bring it in next Wednesday night, and we'll bring the computer in and we'll
Alan
make it
helping me
go.
with my FTA.
But I think it's the people that have got the knowledge can't pass it on unless people that want to sort of speak up and say, hey, show me.
Yeah.
I think, you know,
I think that's the intimidation thing though, isn't it?
Paul's a
New
special
foundation.
case.
Yeah, but those new foundation licensees are still intimidated by what they see.
Yeah.
We've got to break that down.
That from a foundation point of view, that's what I said. That's what, and I'm sure other foundation operators may feel the same. I don't know, but that's what I seem to find as well. That's what I seem to find as well. Like there's a lot of operators that can go on 6 meters, or they can go on the 160 meter band. We're only allocated so many frequencies. So to have other operators mention, hey, you can go on the 6 meters or something like, or there's these frequencies as well.
Well, I didn't mean that as a pejorative, actually.
No.
And there's some responsibility to us to communicate amongst ourselves as
Yeah,
well.
That's right.
You know, and to band together and do the things that we can do together too, and to encourage ourselves to train. I've got to pull my finger out and get on with the advancing my license.
Yeah.
You know,
And we can certainly give you experience out here.
No, that's
of,
right.
You know, what's ahead. That's.
Well, I think the intimidation thing that Steve talked about is probably right. But I think you get that in any industry.
Yeah,
you know?
anyone
You go to work
joining
for an
a new
IT
club.
company and you sort of think, oh, you're come across a heap of this stuff, and you'll go and talk to two of the guys that work in the office down there, and you'll come out going, oh, do you know what, I know zip about this stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's always going to be somebody at the top end of the spectrum that you're just going to walk away, go shaking your head, going, wow. You know? But I think it's a matter of maybe finding that guy and going, so show me. So how does this work? What do I need to do? I think this is really cool. What do I need to do to get into this? And I think everybody here would certainly offer any sort of assistance, and if they didn't, I would certainly. You know,
This hobby.
Can I just introduce you to this, that there is absolutely nothing new about any of this.
No.
That when I was a 16-year-old schoolboy and I was taken to my first meeting of the Holland District Amateur Radio Society, I couldn't understand a word they were bloody talking about. I just, as you described it, sat in the corner. But what I did was I absorbed everything they were talking about, and then I read up about it, and I learnt about it, and I worked out what was going on, and then I could start asking intelligent questions. Or what I thought were intelligent questions, they probably weren't, but they were patient enough to answer them. So there's nothing new about that.
No.
You've just
Certainly
got
not.
to go through that process of working out what you're interested in, what people are on about. Do you want to get involved in the digital stuff, or do you want to get involved in the microwave stuff, or whatever? But you can't just come in and scattergun and say, I want the one.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting
You've
that.
got to work out
It's a
what
recipe
you're
for
interested
disaster.
in.
No, I'm not
What
suggesting
you
that
want.
in any way. What we're trying here to do is mitigate disaffection due to, somebody comes in, they become there's far more foundation members than we see through here.
I know, correct.
Yeah.
We have 4 or 5 every 2 months. That's the sort of average that we're doing right at the moment.
Do we give them any welcome to country messages?
That's what I wanted to move to. Because we probably, and this is well and truly this issue, we probably lose more than we train, which is it's almost criminal. So there were some suggestions made in the email suggestions around. We really do need to improve the membership process,
Retention.
and from not only the membership process, but the welcoming process, the engagement process, the actual nurturing process, and some of the suggestions that were made as part of that email suggestions was we really need somebody who is dedicated to being a membership officer, who is the person who actually follows up and makes sure that they get all the information and they follow up with the person and they actually talk to the person and find out what their interests are and all that sort of thing. So that's something that is heard loud and clear by the committee. So this is the next agenda item on the committee. But also we talked about mentors and Elmers, connecting new members to people to talk to. And the Wednesday night group, by the sound of it, is certainly the forum, I think, where that can happen. And practice. This is a bit like the question you asked, Rex, at the beginning. It's about giving them the opportunity, giving foundation licensees, new foundation licensees, the ability to come up here and actually operate and get practice. Because it's daunting doing your first contact. Doing your first contact unassisted.
Yeah.
Because they do a contact as part of the practical assessment. And we have a help sheet that we actually give the foundation licensee that they take with them, so that at least they've got something to look at when they try and make their first contact. But it's about providing the opportunity for practice. So
Can I just speak about my experience when I first joined, when I got the foundation license? It was just after COVID hit, and I found the club almost by accident. I think I got in touch with Reg previously when we just literally as a club just started doing assessments, and there was an assessment evening thing that was just for assessment, no training whatsoever. I was going to come along to that, and Reg said, no, don't do that because there's no training whatsoever. Come along to the next Saturday morning, and that was the one that Harry and I both got our foundation license at. And I got my foundation license in great. I spent about 6 weeks waiting for ACMA to even accept that I was actually a person. And then another 6 months later I got it. No, but anyway, I got, sorry. I then was kind of left dim and distant, and this is no criticism to anyone here, was left dim and distant and didn't really know what I was doing. I turned the radio on occasionally and wouldn't hear anything and just went, oh, okay, fair enough, and crawled back in my hole. It was, I think I actually reappeared probably about March, April, or even April, May time, and would come up every few weeks, and as Paul said, you turn up and you get scared, and people start mentioning things like megahertz and bandwidth, and start saying FT8, and you run away again. And me pushing the PTT button, oh my gosh, that was terrible. The thought of me doing that, it was like touching a snake. Wouldn't have happened. It was only by sheer chance that, and I still feel sorry for, I'm eternally grateful to Murray and Tricky, because, sorry?
You pulled that trick twice, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because
got away with it.
because they were talking about a contest, and I went, whoa, what's a contest? What is this thing? What are you talking about, strange creature? And Trick said, there's VHF UHF field day, and we're going up to the side of Mount Wellington. This is the middle of winter.
Crazy people.
Yeah. And I went, do you mind if I come up? Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah. So picture a few of these guys and the van that Hayden's got and the amazing rig, and they've got, I rock up and they've got the mask going and the compressors going and everything. They've got the 10 gig running, and I get in the van.
You said shut the door, it's cold.
And you said shut the door, it's cold. And Murray's there, and I'm there with my little, I'm there with my little Baofeng UV, and first sorry for Murray because I went, what do I do? And Murray went, right, so you need to get some columns, here's some paper, you start doing this, and no, okay, get rid of that, start again. I spent about 5-10 minutes just getting me set up, and then getting an antenna connected, and then going, okay, now we can do your first contact. And I went, how do I do that? I spent probably about an hour and a bit with these guys, and felt very, 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 very much more relieved when I did it. But it was only by me sticking my nose in, and these guys being willing to accept me as to come up and invade their world, if you like, that got me into it and got me as far as I am now. And I still, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still a foundation in terms of experience. I'm just a standard in terms of license. I'm still learning. I know we all are, but
We're all just learning.
oh, absolutely.
That's right.
We're all different parts of that journey. But I think that's near where I feel we could improve as a club. Is having that. Okay, I've got my foundation. And for when Neil said, I've got my foundation license. Then what do we do?
So would it be so correct in saying why, I think you were saying, Justin, we're losing more than what we're retaining? As in, the only reason why we retained you, Lee, was probably you make 10 contacts before we open that door and let you out, so to speak. So you had no choice.
Open the cage.
I think it's probably very daunting for the newbie coming in, as this hobby is very much similar to my trade, like an electrician, if people didn't know. People, if you think an electrician, you think, oh yeah, just plays with wires, they can do everything. But people don't realise in the electrical trade you can just play with PowerPoints in a domestic environment, or up to the level where I'm playing with comms, process control, robotics. So you've got one extreme or the other, and that can be daunting for people. I think it's similar in this hobby as well. There's so many things to do and sample, and I think as Martin said, you try and grab the whole lot, and
It's not going to live long enough.
yeah, it's just
not
not.
going to live long enough.
So I
You
think it's,
could have pockets with you.
If you did, you still wouldn't live long enough. So much stuff to do.
so it's that daunting, or that feeling of, oh, I'm now so lost, I don't know what I want to do.
I
Scaring
think
the
sometimes
people
too,
off
Juffy, you're right. So I remember when you and I got our licences sort of about the same time.
Well, I remember walking into your shed and going,
And some of the guys,
he's a welder and he's doing
and
this.
some of, weirdo of the highest order, but
Yeah.
but I think too that what sort of ever drives you to come and sit the course and get the licence, somebody sort of like pushes the buttons that sort of like lights up and goes, that's cool stuff, I want to get me some of that, what do I need to do? And for me, it was being fieldy and playing 6 metres and playing satellites, like, this stuff's pretty cool, like what do I need to do? I need to do this, I need to do that, you need to study, you need to pass this test.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And actually, the other guy that got me to do the licence was Les Cooper, that I worked with at Zip Works, if you remember.
Yeah, oh, Les.
He's like, right, here's some old books, you know, and sort of dusted off some old books, go and learn this, you know, and that was back in the day. It was still multiple choice, but that was just, the full call. We were the scummy Z calls back then. Didn't want to
Yeah, that's right.
You know, oh, you're one of them. But to me, you know, you've got to sort of try and pick what presses your buttons and go, so what do I need to do to get me some of that?
Yeah.
And I was really fortunate that I had lots of people that sort of said, you know, lend your gear and sort of come around. And again, you know, satellites is like, you need to come around 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and all this sort of stuff, you know, and people were really helpful and say, you know, then you start to build gear and get a bit of a handle for sort of doing it and stuff, you know, and those guys are really sort of helpful, you know, they were always upgrading and sort of, you know, passing sort of gear down and stuff that you could sort of like get amongst, because many years ago, all mode radios for 70 centimetres were like just stupid expensive. You know, so I think you just got to like, and now there's so much more cool stuff to do along the digital FTA and all sorts of stuff that you just, the young guys that come in, or not so young guys, come in and sort of go, this stuff sounds cool, these guys are talking about this stuff.
And
just, you know,
just the software, the way you can do something in software these days and a sound card has reduced that amount of hardware and everything you had to try and either build or how do you put this together.
But I think
it allows you to sample a lot of different things.
That's right. But I still think the foundation person has got to try and find something that pushes their buttons. It doesn't matter whether it's playing satellites, moon bounce, contesting, or just shortwave listening and listening to, you know, seeing what they can hear or building antennas or whatever. But I think there's enough breadth of knowledge in this club that people come of a Wednesday night. And who do I talk to if I want to sort of, you know, get into
connecting the dots.
Yeah, it's like you need to go and talk to Steve if you want to know about SSTV. Like, he's the man. And then it's not just Steve, he's probably a bit of a subject matter expert, but then there's like a lot of people in this room that can sort of have a little bit of a thing and say, oh, look, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. So then the new guy can sort of go, oh, sweet, there's like half a dozen people that are doing this. You know, what do I need to do? What sort of gear do I need to buy? Can someone help me set up an SSTV? Blah. You know, if you're having trouble, bring your radio in. Demo at the back. But I think the people need to gravitate, like work out what they want to do, then try and gravitate to the people that are doing that stuff.
The connection.
I think it's really difficult for the club to sort of go, yeah, look, Juffy's a new at F-Call, he's interested in this, because we really don't know what he's interested in. You know? So
sometimes too, I think I found when I was new, just trying something, you don't know what you want, just grab it, try and master it, and you may get so far and they go, no, it doesn't really interest me.
I don't want to do that.
You get, okay, you know, then you drop it, and eventually you'll find some little rabbit hole that you jump down and bang, it's got you.
Yep.
And that's when I think it starts.
I think there's some interesting stuff from that, in that when we all started, we experienced amateur radio before we got a license. Whereas the foundation license thing is the theory, or this sounds like a good idea
they've met us after they've got their
but you
license.
haven't had the experience, you haven't been around a number of amateur radio stations, you haven't seen somebody doing DX, you haven't seen somebody doing satellites or whatever. Whereas we did.
Correct.
But, you know, everybody who got a license in our day had seen a lot of the activity, if you like, around amateur radio, whether it was HF or VHF or whatever, and then went to get a license. So we got the sort of motivation of knowing where we were going, perhaps not in detail, but we knew more. Whereas the foundation license, they're now trying to do that after they've got the license.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, what motivates an individual to get a foundation license?
Curiosity, I reckon.
Well, probably.
And
Curiosity.
they might know somebody that's mates at the
But that's
work.
getting back.
Ask Richard why he went and got his licence. If you base it upon, say, his history and his trade or what it is, you wouldn't have gone,
Well, that's
yeah,
right.
okay, that's it.
The average
Yeah.
Boilermaker welder in sort of 1980 1982 didn't play electronics, you know.
Yeah.
I just happened to go to start a job as a boilermaker welder. And
Actually,
sort of
I could introduce you to quite a few who
playing with
did
UHF
become
CBs and stuff.
who were boilermaker welders.
We were doing data over CB, data over 27 megs and stuff.
BK3 Echo Whiskey is another one.
And I ended up sort of working. This old guy was my Elmer in learning how to fabricate. And I said, what do you do? I play around with sort of radio stuff. Do you now? Well, you better come up to my place. I've got some radios to show. It's like, whoa.
I guess what I was thinking about with this was, with the Model Railway stuff that we do with Linda, we travel around different people's houses to look at different layouts. And whether that's something that might be useful to new licensees to go and see established stations. Now there's a risk that they say, you know, they look at all the kit that I've got and sort of, God, I could never get there.
Yeah. But bear in mind that not all amateur stations are tidy and nice looking either.
Well, but Martin, that was one of the things we tried to do. Actually, we took the opportunity of COVID
Did the shack tours
to do the Working from the Shack series. So we actually interviewed people at home because hey, we could only do it via online. To try and give people a bit of an idea. So it's certainly an opportunity, well and truly.
Did that help any of the
Well,
foundation
Have you
guys?
seen any of their videos?
I've seen a couple.
Yes, you've got
And
some
the-
watching to do.
Yeah, I've got a lot of catching up to do.
in fact, one of them we actually interviewed was Paul. So yeah, just to show a foundation license. Sorry, Larry's been very patient.
Yeah, no. I want to get back to doing a quick overview of where we started out. It looks to me as though the elements of attracting people and having them get interested enough to get a license is one thing, but the focus that you had further into the presentation was we're losing people that actually have a license, and that's really bad.
Yeah, that's,
So one of the things that Paul mentioned, I think is very operational or it's an operand in our society, and that is if you have your own individual membership in a gym, I don't feel like it. Like a new show is on TV tonight, I won't go. But if you're going to be meeting somebody, then there's a loss of ego and face and lots of other stuff. So you show up. So I think that one of the issues that you might want to think about in terms of planning an upgrade path is to have either a selected Elmer or somebody who generally teaches and maybe take a look at those individual videos and then have that specific video or more than one be discussed in the back on schedule. So that if you're going to be upgrading and you don't show up, you're going to feel bad and ashamed and whatever else.
we could just get tricky to berate them.
Yeah, there you go. He can show up with his orange demon and blow the horn at 2 in the morning.
Ouch.
I'm not into that as well.
So my thought was in terms of not losing the people
whiskey
that
that well.
my thought was in not losing the people that have already made the effort to get the license, because they will become active members if they find out what they like. But the issue is having an operating station in the back. They can have people like Tricky show them satellites and all, and it's an incentive to keep coming. But if you had a scheduled meeting, like, okay, the second Tuesday of whatever, we're going to teach antennas or something, and people had said they're going to do it, and then you zipped them an email the day before or whatever, you're going to have higher attendance rather than just like, well, I don't know, they got a new
I think
X-Man.
the only thing where that won't work is humans these days are just busy. Like there's work commitments and family. Like, you know, when I first got my licence, I had young kids and was buying a house and like doing all the things. So I think sometimes people that come into the hobby often have got limited time available to do it, and sometimes they've got to make like there's lots of life choices of like, do I go to the club Wednesday night, or do I take my wife out for tea, or do I take the kids to the cricket, or
You're here a lot, except when you're away working, right?
that's right. But
So
I'm
every
fortunate.
Wednesday you prioritize this. You've told your family that this is important to me. I'm going to show up there and hang out and drink a beverage and fiddle with the radio. So if the people are going to be long-term members and want to upgrade, they'll do the same thing. If you do, people do things that are important to them.
That's right, but by the same token, people do get, life gets in the way sometimes.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have their
absolutely.
best
No, I
intentions to turn up, and just.
But anyhow, I'm thinking of like, maybe Reef should have a sort of informal, upgrade school or something.
Well and truly, Larry, and can I just say, it was interesting our last foundation license session, because there were actually 4 guys came along that we initially thought didn't know each other, but we later found out they're all friends. And in fact, they all made a commitment that they were going to get their foundation license.
So the guys from the open day, is that Grant?
No, this was before the open day. This was just the session before the open day.
Oh.
But they came along, and we thought, they're four guys, and sort of thinking that they were unrelated, they didn't know each other, when in fact they all come from the Derwent Valley, and they had made a commitment that they were all going to get their foundation license.
Oh wow!
So that's the peer group sort of thing. It was an interesting, unusual, but it's not unusual to get a couple of people who are friends or whatever, or related or whatever coming along. So.
But does this end up being we want to talk on 2 and 70? So we'll get. I mean, that doesn't matter, because But you had mentioned a while back. You said there's some people that come along just to get onto the repeaters, and that's fine. So as far as our retention and club membership and involvement and things goes, I was going to ask you earlier, what percentage of these members, because you say we lose more than we keep, but are those people that come in for the sole purpose, the express desire to reach a licensing level to achieve what they want to achieve?
To be honest,
not that that's
Paul,
a problem.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I don't know those sort of statistics.
That wasn't a Dorothy Dixer.
No. Because it's interesting. You get a bit of a feel when they come along as to where their motivation is.
Right.
And like some of them come along because they're yachties. We get quite a few yachties who they have their marine radio license, so they've had a bit of experience in operating, but they realise, one of the comments from the last one was, I want to use WinLink because I want email on the yacht. Hey, so it's that sort of thing, and some come along because they're there with their mate and they want to go a bit further than CV, and all of that sort of stuff. So
I sold a radio to a fellow that it might be interesting. We could put, based on my discussions with him, we should probably put membership ads in Prepper News.
Yeah, well, can I just say...
He definitely is looking for simplex in the woods.
The ARRL, the ARRL was reporting that it had a 700% increase in people wanting to do their radio licence during COVID. Now, a vast majority of those were preppers, what we call preppers, but not all of them were. And people wanted, an activity during COVID to learn amateur radio or whatever.
Can someone tell me what prepper means? I thought it was a 5-year-old.
Doomsday prepper.
Prepping for the end of the world.
Oh, okay.
Or prepping for when technology falls apart.
In which case,
a bit like yesterday.
Yeah. Well.
But the thing is that motivations are all different. That's what I'm trying to emphasise here. It's you don't get probably last session was a bit strange because we had 4 people who were all here doing it for about the same reason. But that's pretty out there. So
And motivations change over time.
Your comment about you have a family, I'm building a house, I'm doing renovations, I'm doing my life's full of other things.
Well, it's a lifelong thing. Correct. And what you start off doing when you first get your licence may not be what you end up doing when 10 10 years down the track, you know, you,
Wow.
The one thing because I had, when I got my last job, not long into the piece, I had my bag that I used on the weekend, and I had one of these things again, just sat in it because I'd been out doing a field day or something, and a colleague Kim went, "What's that?" And so I said, I was a radio operator, and he'd been thinking about it for a while, but then when he actually knew someone who was interested, who did it, he ended up coming along, I think it was December, and got his license, got his foundation license, passed the flying colours. One of the things that he always says, he's got a little 2.5-year-old, which he wants to also bring into the hobby when he's old enough. But one of the issues he's got is that, you know, he can't get her on a Wednesday simply because he is normally looking after his little boy, and he lives in Kingston. For him, it's you know, a good half an hour journey in the evening and then another track back. Now I know that some people do that. That's fine, but for him, it's a big commitment. And so I think there's also an element of, you know, I think for people like that, we can't really. We just need to be aware that, yeah, we're not always going to keep people, or we're not always going to lose people because we're not being inclusive enough. But sometimes geography plays a part, and maybe that's something to think about going forward. Is whether we need to do something, occasionally go down to the channel and, you know, do something down there, so that
Do something on a weekend or.
yeah, so people who are actually, you know, in that area can come out for the day and do stuff. So it's just something that, you know, to think about.
What about a scheduled Zoom session?
That's the other way of doing it, well, I'm sure.
every Wednesday night we effectively.
Well, you've had a scheduled Zoom session out of, you know, or move it around so people,
Yeah.
but some people won't be able to, but other people will. So it's that sort of thing. But Zoom is well and truly available to us. And hey, my wife teaches people all over the world on Zoom. So it's more about trying to find a time zone issue. But so yeah, it's certainly available to us, well and truly. Now, I've just put up. We've sort of covered these bits and pieces, I think, and unless you think we haven't. The regular group sessions, I'm hearing we schedule something maybe out the back on a Wednesday night. There is a specific sort of teaching focus, that sort of thing. So practice. Have the station running every Wednesday night. There's an idea. Have it running on a different band each Wednesday night. All of this sort of stuff. So you know, start to utilise the facilities that we've actually got. The active inclusion. I just take up Lee's point here about the field day. We have field days, summer and winter field days. We have contests throughout the year, and honestly, the contest calendar that's appeared in AR magazine in the last edition, if you have a look at the 2-page spread, you've got at least 4 or 5 things a month. There it is. You've got at least 4 or 5 things a month. But is that the opportunity to, as a club, say, we're going to be operating the club station up here. If you want to come up and operate, and there it is. Please come up and go your hardest, and we'll show you what to do. We'll show you how to do it. It won't be as cold as being on the mountain.
It was toasty with the van.
You'll be able to escape whenever you want to.
I've got the click contacts.
I think that's certainly worth a try, having the station operating when there's a contest on.
Well,
Good.
and the station should be involved in as many contests as possible.
Well, I think too it gives the opportunity for foundations to be on the bands that maybe they can't normally be on, to give a bit of a taste of
with
160 metres or 10.
Can I just say with full power?
Yeah.
You know,
Not just full power, but also with a reasonable selection of antennas. Because obvious for most people, putting up more than one antenna is often a struggle.
Correct.
Yeah.
And some people can't actually do that. They live in a flat. They live in.
I
They haven't got a backyard or whatever.
I live in a rental, I can't put anything up, so it's, yeah.
Yes, you can. You put a mag loop on.
Apart from the magnet.
So yeah.
Just take your dog away.
So So from that perspective, the active inclusion, that's what I'm hearing. So the club provides opportunities for the foundation licensees to then actually be involved as and when they want to be involved. So.
Can I just add to that? I think doing that is fantastic. I mean, we did start to do that a little bit last year with the contest when Murray would come up and open that station. But I also think there's opportunity, exactly like I did with Eastbourne Beggars, of, you know, we go, right, you know, we're going to have one or two of us might go, right, we're going to go to a different, name Bromley for example, we're going to go to a different point. If you'd like to come up and see us operate and actually maybe get a few contacts in on your 2 70 centimetre handheld, please come along. You know, we can facilitate and help you with that as long as you've got a license. Or even if you haven't got a license and you're interested,
Well, come along. You can
yes,
still
come on.
operate.
Yeah, exactly.
Supervised.
Yeah.
Get a feel for it.
I think that would also be a good way of getting around it.
Another opportunity is to think about the callbacks after the news.
Yep.
And either listening out for new call signs or encouraging people or specifically asking for callback from people who've only just got
licensed
the
less
new
than a year or something.
Yes, so that so there's an opportunity for them to call in and be recognised.
And maybe not have to worry about sort of jumping into the often messy sort of callback pile up.
Yeah.
Or maybe even supplying new licensees with a list of specific frequencies where they can expect to find activity, such as broadcasts and other things. Not just bands that they can wander around, but that particular frequency.
Yeah, and we do have a welcome to Reast sheet that we give foundation licensees after their exam, which has got all the broadcast frequencies and bits and pieces on it. So that's something that we do.
Do they include chat frequencies as well?
No, it doesn't include chat
Maybe we
frequencies.
could.
So yeah.
When I got my licence, I remember driving down the road and no worries, I just put a call sign out. We used to have a ham that no matter what time of day or night, it always welcome you.
Yeah. Well,
So
Mike,
if you're
I put Mike
listening
Jenner
in,
in that.
Very good evening.
Mike does a good job of that.
Mike, I put Mike in that in that role.
But I suppose sometimes the F calls, the newbie knows what he probably wants best.
Yep.
So maybe we actually have a way that they can submit a couple of ideas they want to know about something. So they're actually driving what they want, and we can then go, oh yeah, okay, hey Triggy, can you do this and satellites on this night or whatever for them, or this Wednesday, and so on.
Sorry, maybe Tony gives you like a survey monkey or something to get some information on this.
And yeah, there's, I suppose, going back a number of years too, 2 metres and that in some ways was a lot more active, I just find.
They'll repeat 2 days.
Yeah, and so on. There's a lot more activity about, and I think you were made a lot more welcome, and you used to have old floating boat there, just one night, that's it, we're doing slow scan, I think was the flavour there for years.
Even on the repeater on the occasion.
That was a suggestion that was put forward, do we do slow scan? Have a slow scan night. So, because one of the things is it's a digital mode, you have to set up your radio and computer, so there's a bit of, you've got to work out how to do this. You can do analog slow scan, you can do digital slow scan, you can do whatever you want to do. And yes, we do it over the repeater. Oh my God, yes, we do it over the repeater. So that was one of the suggestions that was actually put forward. So, yeah. Now, I'm aware that it's 10 to 9. We've actually been going for nearly an hour and a half. So, what I just wanted to go back to was, for maybe the last 10 minutes or so, how do we change or improve the image of amateur radio?
What's your goal?
You don't, because it's not under our control.
Or do we? this is exactly right. Because if we are looking to do all those wonderful things that we just talked about and demonstrate those things, that will enable new licensees to actually go, ooh, I like that, I want to be involved in that, then do we need to even do this?
A comparison. How do we improve the image of librarians? How do we improve the image of model railway enthusiasts? I think we're,
Politicians.
I think we are. That's right.
Miracle speaking to the impossible takes a wee bit longer.
We are what we are. I don't think we can change
It's
the.
like everything else.
I think that's right, Lynn. We've got to try and, rather than change our perception to the people that we don't know, try and change the perception of us to the people that have actually made that step to get a licence and walk into the club of a Wednesday night. You know, we need to be a bit more maybe friendly to someone that's actually got off their bum and got a licence and made the first move. Then maybe we should be just trying to be a little bit more.
I see that. You change the individuals that are here. They become the ambassadors that change the image.
Because at the end of the day, we're probably any technical hobby is always going to be looked upon a bit geeky, whether you're an IT guy or a radio guy or a photography guy.
Guilty of both guys.
No. I mentioned earlier, I had a very interesting conversation with a guy from the OBC today, who rang up, who was the producer of the Drive 936 program, asking about yesterday's internet outage and how it affected amateur radio. And I said to him, it didn't.
It didn't.
I said it wasn't even a blip on the radar. And he said, oh, tell me more. So I told him more. And
it was a setup.
It was a setup, well and truly.
Russian
but
spy.
Yeah, I did tell him about it. It was the Russian submarine that knocked out. No, I didn't do that. I should remember he's coming out on them. But I had a very interesting conversation with him. Now he was a bit of a geeky, nerdy guy, and expressed a bit of interest in finding out more about amateur radio. So I was half expecting him to come up tonight after their drive program, but he didn't come up. But that was the opportunity that presented at the time, and you have the conversation. And he seemed pretty interested in it, and we might get some publicity opportunity out of it. I don't know.
I think displaying the diversity of amateur radio would certainly improve its image.
Yeah.
Take away the concept of an old bloke behind a microphone and just say, look, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And show that.
Which, can I ask a question then? At the open day, do you think that we at least got some way to doing that?
Hard to say.
Yes.
I didn't see a lot of people in this room where a lot of the alternatives things were there.
Yeah. Okay.
They obviously were hanging around outside where there was a big shiny dish.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to say from my point of view anyway.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, who's the fellow who has the satellite tracking thingy for the school kids?
Joe and Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, really good
The
image.
school's
Star Trek.
Whatever. I'm
SARC.
not sure what
SARC,
it's-
Yeah. The school's amateur radio club.
Yeah, that's a really, really good image.
That is a cool
Buying one of
thing.
those is bloody hard though, because they don't produce enough of them.
I've got all the bits to build one. It's just-
Well, the reason I asked you what your goal was when you said that is I was trying to figure out whether or not you were focusing on showing the public or doing high school demos of things that are exciting to get people to sign up for a license course or to get involved, or to keep people after they have a license, on the upgrade path. And
I think it's both.
well, that's the reason I asked, because I didn't know what you wanted to focus on. But the media aspect is important. Wyson is doing stuff. There's all sorts of things that people are maybe aware of. I don't read many of the newspapers, but there's a whole lot going on. And this kind of thing that happened, I went on listened to 20 meters, and internet was out. I couldn't do anything with my computer, but I could certainly listen to 20 meters and decode whatever was decoding.
Yep.
So it was all good for me. So the preppers have some ideas. I think the image. I'm not sure we should apocalyptic ham radio or anything, but yeah, I think there's an opportunity even on a small scale to do some stuff. And the thing that I learned a whole lot about was when we Reast, through various folks, participated in STEM. Because the thing that was fascinating was the kids sitting there with a Morse code key, trying to send code, and it would decode if it was right or wrong, would tell them. And they were sending code to each other across a room like this. They were having a hell of a time. And then they also liked the idea of talking over light, too. So there are a whole bunch of things there that if you wanted to actively or proactively do imaging, image stuff, you could show up on a science day in a high school, for Christ's sake, When you have somebody who knows something about French school.
No, well,
For the moment.
That's what I didn't add that.
Phoebe was a lot of hard work, but absolutely fascinating and very rewarding.
Yeah, exactly.
But
they were really engaged, but much better than they were in a lot of other more passive, here's a plant, it's going to save the planet. Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
No, but that's you had 15 minutes per class, and you had a class every 15 minutes.
And the social aspect of them doing it together was the big factor.
Well, I'm sure.
They just talked and talked and talked.
Well, I'm sure.
So for me, that or what Joe is doing with the satellite tracking is, that's magic. When you have a 9-year-old girl talking to a satellite that's talking to California, that's a big deal.
They were just doing it, they were an education people, I think they were doing.
Well, I'm sure.
Like he built a little speech synthesizer for his 817 and a whole bunch of other pretty cool stuff. I think they're both educators, are they?
No, she certainly is.
Okay.
Julie's actually a librarian.
Yeah, she's a librarian.
Librarian teacher. So, and in a couple of schools, and that has led to the Schools Amateur Radio Club. Joe's helped out. Joe's a software engineer. Joe has helped out, and they go basically around schools. So they did a lot of talks at Gibbs Tech when they had the program well and truly up and firing. So.
And they've got experience. They're willing to share the program too.
So okay, all right. Any final sort of comments? Anything you want to put into discussion? Any brilliant ideas that are going to absolutely solve all of our problems? Please talk now.
No, but I think something was mentioned a minute ago about welcoming people in. We do tend these days to be rather cliquey. So you have nets of the same people on the same frequency, and even somebody like me who's been around since the year dot really doesn't feel comfortable just breaking in on them.
Yep. Okay.
And the same thing applies, like your Wednesday meetings, where you've got people talking about this or talking about that, and they're in their little groups. Breaking in is not easy. So getting away from that cliquey stuff and welcoming people in to your group is important.
I think that puts up a really good point, though. You're saying that someone like yourself that's been around for a long time has still got that same feeling of awkwardness that maybe a new FCOR has. So maybe that sort of is something that maybe it's a little bit different in the actual
I really
sort of
want to break in, I will,
but you know what I mean, is that you still got a hesitation to sort of jump in and join net.
Yep.
And you've been doing this stuff for longer than a lot of us. So that makes it sort of sound that it's not really that weird for a new FCOR to have the same feeling when they've only been doing it, So we've...
Something that's happened to me recently, which was quite upsetting initially, but kind of went, oh yeah, okay, fine, whatever, but get over yourself. Related to what you were talking about, jumped onto the DMR now on a Tuesday night, which is operated by someone in Queensland who I shall not name, but I know his call sign and I'm never going to talk to him again. And after I spoke to it, after I jumped in and went, hi, I'm Lee, and they said, oh well, and I got the response of, oh, you're a bit of a whinger. Oh yeah, you shouldn't be whinging so much. I thought,
that's welcoming.
Yeah, and I thought, well, not only is it inappropriate on a DM on net, which can be listened by anyone in the world, but it's also very insulting, and it's also very, very odd. And I'm actually not going to be going on that net again for a while, because it's just, you don't want to do that. You're not going to expose yourself to that. And as a newbie, if you get that as a newbie, I mean, geez, that's going to turn them off the line. So I think that's an area where we need to be very conscious.
It will discourage them. I doubt it'll turn them off.
But it's
I
even so.
I can guarantee you, my welcoming to AR in Tasmania was disgusting, and it turned me off for 15 years.
Yeah.
But I came back.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't expect someone to be turned off the line. That won't happen.
No, but it's just we don't want to turn them off at all. Is my point. We'd rather keep them engaged.
Another thing I would mention too, that would actually come into that factor, would be confidence. If you're newly licensed, you may be worried about joining into a net, or there's a group of people that you may have not ever spoken to. So confidence is another thing as well, and going off on lead with operators in general that may do that. What's it going to do with their confidence as well? So we've just got to keep in mind. Yeah, some like Martin as well. He's a bit anxious there at some nets sometimes as well. So it's just a matter of not trying to build up their confidence in general, because you don't know where their confidence is at and their interest is at. So if we can try and go towards that way of building that up, it will make everything a bit more comfortable for them to join that net or that group.
Just remember, when you're worrying about your confidence, that in the totality of the population, there are something like 10 to 15% that are absolute arseholes.
Yeah.
And we are not excluded from including 10 to 15% in the amateurs. So if you encounter a complete arsehole, move on.
Yeah. And I've been in ham radio a long time, and getting on the low end of 20 meters with 15 words a minute CW is scary, especially when I hear JAs rocking along at 35 with it. The other thing is, I think Paul had mentioned possibility of doing sort of a foundation practice net on one of the repeaters. And you could be expected to show up. Again, this is the issue of if it's important to you, you will. Sure. So on some particular day or evening, whatever, and the repeaters, we're making a big effort to optimize the repeaters now. Mm-hmm. And I sure as hell hope there's a lot more use, because I used to have scanners running and there was nobody on. Mm-hmm. So that would be, I think, a good way to initiate some use. And you have a little practice session, and everybody knows they're a foundation license.
Club net.
Yeah.
Once a week, club net.
Yeah.
I agree to that.
Yeah.
And most everybody should be able to get on the thing with handheld, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole bunch of us get on 23 centimetres every Sunday morning. So we're not immune to being on a net. We do it.
And why do you do it?
Oh, I don't know.
Because Rex told us to turn up.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That goes back to Richard's point. It's the peer pressure.
I mean, I get on there just for the numbers, because I don't want to let them down.
Yeah, that's what I said this morning.
we get a statistical report each the end of the session.
Have you been on callback?
I'd like to stay with the median amount or more up the rest.
It's amazing how it works out at 15 every week.
The median of 15.
I imagine that's more than any other place in Australia.
We're the envy of a few places in Australia.
Believe me. Yeah, 23? What?
We just happen to have a big mountain stuck
Yes.
in the middle of the city.
Lovely passive reflector going.
Lovely big reflector.
Where do I apply?
I do like that idea of a club net that the foundation people could join in on. Might even be able to get some ladies on.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That would be another good
And
idea too.
some scouts if it's at the right time.
Well, yes.
So yeah. Okay. Any final comments? Well, Okay, thank you to everyone who's input. And Lee's been taking copious notes, and we also have the video to refer back to. Thank you for your input. There will certainly be a fairly substantial agenda item in our next committee meeting, which is next Tuesday night. Yeah, that's watch this space is probably what I can say.
I'll try and turn things out into some sort of
half decent format as well. So yeah, it's good. So thank you very much. You're welcome to the Anne's Boyle. What's going on?
Oh, I'm just feel a crawling. No longer crawling down more squashing.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.